Okay. Hello, Mark.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you doing?
I'm well. Doing
Good.
well.
Oh my God, I can't hardly hear. Okay, so I asked you to interview with me, and part of the reason for interviewing you was so that I could practice,
Mhm.
and I plan on interviewing Matt.
Mhm.
So I'm all excited, but I really wanted to interview you anyway because um, I know that you have very strong faith and you also run your own business
Mhm.
from home.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to learn more about you, what you do, and how that played a part in your marriage and in your um how your faith played a part in your decision of what you did with
Mhm.
this business. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today.
Perfect.
So, um I guess the biggest thing I want to know is how has this online business um, been a challenge for you and your spouse?
Hmm. Man, we could talk about that the rest of the time. It is. It's hard. I think for us. Well, I mean, I've been working from home for. Let's see. I think it's been 5 years. 5 years with Matt now. Um, and before that, I was always, obviously working somewhere, whether it was an office or I made compost for a while, doing different things. And so I think one of the biggest challenges for my wife and I and for our family was being home but not being at home, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
when you're away at an office, it's not, you're not expected to do anything at the house because you're not there, and it's hard. And I know it's hard for my wife and to realize that I'm working. And I don't fault her for that. And one of the reasons I love working from home is that I can help with things. I can watch the kids sometimes. I can take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. But it's finding that balance of when you can do that, when you can't do that, and realizing that. And so it's been a work in progress for both of us. And I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just realizing that. The other thing is, I grew up, my dad's a farmer, so he's a business owner. He works for himself. He, sometimes works nights, sometimes works weekends. It just kind of depends. I mean, he's a farmer. He always works Saturday, it seems like. But, there's just times that has to happen. And my wife grew up with both of her parents having a job, and they went to the job, they came home, and that was it. And so that idea of, that's something she's had to get used to, is, sometimes I do have to work evenings. Sometimes I do have to jump on and write an email or check a post or do something. And sometimes I have to get something done. So that means I'm working Saturday. But along with that, it also means that sometimes I don't have to work half a day because I want to go watch my kids do something, or, we want to go to the store. One of the things we've learned is it's a lot more fun to go grocery shopping or go to Costco on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. than it is on Saturday or 5 o'clock at night, And so, a lot of times we'll do that. There'll be times, and it's I have to remind myself of that sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, I'm gonna go have lunch with my wife today. So that's been the benefits. I know you asked the challenges, but I think it's kind of a two-edged sword. It's difficult, but there's also some really cool things that go along with it. But it's just been mostly mindset stuff, mostly just getting in the flow of things are different. It's different than having a 9 to 5 job where I go there and I'm there all day and I come home and I'm not there anymore. So
Yeah, that is a big challenge. That's I think that's probably the biggest challenge my husband and I have too,
mhm.
is he grew up in that mindset where you go to work and you come home
Mhm.
and you don't have anything other than leisure stuff to
Yeah.
do at home. So that's been a big challenge as
Yeah.
well for us. Um, so uh my next question was, how do you resolve business decisions with your wife? But I don't know if that necessarily applies to you since you're not actually working with your wife.
It still does. I mean, I think, for us, and this is something that I need to get better at, but while my wife doesn't necessarily work in the business with me, we have an LLC and we're both managing members of it. So, I mean, she's part owner. And, while, we have separate business account and separate things, and, there's a lot of things that are write-offs, that money as an LLC and the way it's set up for us right now, it's pretty much a pass through. So while there's separate money and I pay for stuff through the business, whatever's left over is what goes to our personal account. So all of those decisions do matter. And, I do make or have those conversations. There's some stuff that I don't. I mean, small stuff I don't because it's not a real big deal. But, when it comes to bigger stuff, we do. We have to talk about that. And I'll be the first to say I'm not the best at that because she's not working in it every day, for one. And for two, my wife, I don't want to say she's not interested, but business isn't the most important thing to her. And she doesn't necessarily care about all that, the nuts and bolts of it. And so it's easy for me to just say, well, she doesn't care, so I'm not going to talk to her about it. But I can tell you the times that I do that, it usually backfires. Not that she gets mad. It's just, she goes, wait, hold on. We're doing what? Or you're doing what? Or, how does that work? Or why are you doing that? So I think I'm trying to be better at just having those conversations and understanding that I can tell her about something and she'll hear it and she'll remember it and it, she'll be interested, but she's not going to have a 30-minute conversation with me about it, and realizing that's okay. It doesn't mean that she doesn't care. It doesn't mean that I shouldn't tell her. It just means that she can't talk about it for 3 hours like I can. I could sit and talk about, what I want to do with business. And that's just my personality. I like planning and looking ahead and having ideas and doing all those things. And she doesn't. She's very practical. She likes to know, okay, what does that mean for today? So if we're talking about a business decision and it applies to, how much money she has to go to the grocery store on Friday, then yeah, she cares. And we have that conversation. So it's, I would just say that I need to be better at it. And I need to realize that, just because she doesn't have a 10-minute conversation about it doesn't mean that I shouldn't tell her about it and I shouldn't have that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that because I can go on and on and on about the things that I've learned in the class that I took from Matt, that I'm still learning, and the things that I've learned from you when we talk. I could go on forever, and my husband's like, yeah, okay, how does that apply to right now?
Yep. Yeah. And it's personality differences. And I think it's, as much as people always talk about personalities and how to communicate with different personalities in a business sense, I think it's just as important, with your spouse. And, I'm a personality test junkie. I think I've taken every single one there ever is. I just took the Enneagram and I hadn't taken that one yet. So that might be the last one. I'm joking. I'm sure there's ones I've missed, but my wife just rolls her eyes, but she's taken a couple now. I've got her to take them and it is helpful. It's helpful to be able to read what it says about her personality and be like, oh, okay. So that's why she cares so much about this and couldn't care less about what I care about. It's not that she doesn't care. It's just her personality is different. I'm an idea person. I come up with a million ideas a minute. I love it. I love putting things together. I love, not physically. I really don't like doing that, but putting ideas together and saying, okay, well, what if we did this and how would this do this? And she doesn't. She's most worried about other people's needs. That's what she cares about. And so realizing that helps me when I'm having those conversations to say, okay, it's not that she doesn't care. That's just not what her personality focuses on. She's not going to spend 20 minutes talking about, oh, what would it be like if our business is here in 3 years and we could do this and that. She's not worried about that. She's worried about, how her kids feel today and whether they feel loved, whether they have their needs met, whether they have everything they need. And I'm not focused on those things. Not that I don't care about my kids, don't get me wrong, but that's not the number one priority for me. It's forward.
As a man, you're looking towards the future. How does that play a part in what my kids are going to get?
Yep.
And so you are thinking about those things. You're just thinking about them in a different respect than your wife is. Because I'm in the same boat. I'm like you. I'm thinking, okay, in 3 years, if I'm doing this and I follow through with it, am I going to get to where I want to be?
Mhm.
And then if I get there, that means that this can be taken care of or this could be taken
Yep.
care of. My
Yep.
kids go to a private school. It's not because I can afford it. It's because I feel like that's the best for my kids,
Right.
but I have to ask for help to pay for that school.
Hmm.
And at some point, I would like to be able to not ask for help. I would like
Yeah.
to donate that help back into
Yeah.
the school. That would be my dream.
Hmm.
But I get where you're saying, and I can totally understand her point of view and totally understand your point of
Right.
view.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. So with those business conversations, it's just realizing those things. And I think it's, for me, it's realizing that, if my business is going to be successful, I need my wife's help. I need my spouse's help. I need her to be supportive. And part of that is communicating. A large part of that is communicating, and her understanding and knowing what I'm doing and why, not because she wants to know or she wants to provide a bunch of ideas and feedback and stuff, but just because she needs to feel as a part of it. And that's been one of our biggest struggles is she says, I feel like, you just do your thing and I do mine. And it's falls mostly on my shoulders because I don't communicate well enough. And it's realizing that there's a difference between not wanting to talk about it all the time and not wanting to know about it at all, and finding that balance. And so that's something I'm working on. It's something that I struggle with, but I'm getting better. I think you'd have to ask my wife. We'd have to interview my wife to find out if I'm getting better. But I'm trying to get better.
I might actually do that. I might take you up on that.
She has been interviewed on one podcast because I was interviewed, and she was
Oh, yeah.
terrified. She was petrified, but she did great. She did awesome. So
I have a confession to make. I was absolutely petrified. I realized this is something I needed to do, but I was absolutely petrified about doing it.
yeah,
And of course, talking with you and Matt helped a lot, but there was other people, because of the group, the NPNP and the list launch groups. Those things actually, connecting with other people in that group actually helped me learn to be able to do this and see that I could do it,
yeah,
which was really exciting. But we're not on here to talk about me. So now you talked about communication with your wife and how, with communication and communicating about your business together, um, my understanding is that your wife is a home wife. She's a housewife. Is that correct?
yeah. Like half the time, yeah. She is, but she also, like we mentioned before we started, just her mother-in-law, well, her mom and dad own a restaurant, so she fills in there and helps there. So she was home all day for a while. She was working some nights, and now she's just switched back to day because she likes being home with the kids at night since they're in school. So
Yeah.
she's about half time probably.
So since you guys see a lot more of each other than the average couple, probably, what does your date look like? An ideal date for you guys.
Ugh. We're trying to get better at this. We've actually historically been really terrible at dates.
Oh,
Again, I think I'm not blaming this, but part of it is, my wife, like I said, her main worry is taking care of people and their needs, and so she worries. She hates leaving our kids. Hates it. She feels like it's her responsibility as the mom to take care of them, and she shouldn't have babysitters. So that's something we've always struggled with. Plus, just kids and activities and being really busy. So we've actually in the last, well, since January, um, became really good friends with another couple, and that's helped a lot. I think one of the biggest things for us is having that, I would say, accountability. Having another couple that says, hey, let's go do this. Hey, let's go to the movies, let's go to dinner, let's go do this. And that's helped a lot. And so we do more dates, and a lot of times they're double dates, which I think is really important because it's fun to hang out and we get along. She was friends with Kelsey, before I was friends with her husband, Ryan, but now we're all really good friends. You know, and it's been really, really helpful to find people. I mean, I'm sure you know how it goes. It's hard to find a couple where both of you get along with both of them. A lot of times it seems like my wife will be really good friends with somebody, and I'm like, I don't really have anything in common with their husband. I don't really want to. Or the opposite, you know, it's like, hey, I have some really, really good friends that I love hanging out with, and we've went to their house a few times and hung out, and our kids get along great. But my wife and his wife are just not that they don't like each other, they just don't have a lot in common. So having that couple where we both have a lot in common, we both get along really well, has been really helpful. So ideal date, my wife hates movies, so it's probably not a movie. She's not a movie fan, although we went and watched the new movie, what is it called, Overcomer. We went and watched that.
I've never heard of that one.
It's by the same guys that did like War Room and Courageous and Fireproof and all those movies. So
oh wow, that sounds like a good movie then.
It is. It's good. So we went and watched that with our friends Ryan and Kelsey. So we did watch a movie, but it's only because we were invited by them. If I suggest a movie, she just kind of goes, oh, seriously. But I mean, even just, you know, for us, we live in a tiny town. There's 7,000 people. So a lot of times our dates look like, hey, we need to go to Costco, and it's a 50-minute drive. And so we'll take half a day and we'll just go up there. We'll have lunch, you know, or we'll have dinner depending on what time it is, you know, go to a couple other stores and just kind of hang out. So for us, it's kind of nice because anywhere we're really going to go, besides the movies, but anywhere we're really going to go takes like an hour, which gives us time to just talk, you know, and hang out and talk, and, you know, while we're driving. So a lot of times that's what it is. It's usually dinner or lunch, and going to a couple stores, getting some errands done or whatnot. And I think that's okay. I think sometimes we think dates need to be fancy and super planned out and stuff, but for me, it's really just having time, just her and I, without kids saying, "Mom, mom, 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 mom." You know, and I, you know, again, with my wife's personality, if the kids are around, that's her focus. And
Yeah.
I love that. I love that about her. I love that she cares so much about our kids, but it's really important for us to have time where it's just us too. So
It is. It's very important as couples to spend time together. I love the fact that you said that you guys go out and do like shopping for the house or whatever, and you call that your date. Because so my husband, he works in a job where he doesn't get weekends off. And my kids are off on the weekend. So when my husband and I date, because we don't have a whole lot of funds for extracurricular stuff, we go shopping. And sometimes it's just window shopping. Like we go out to the biggest, fanciest store we have in my town, because my town is a small town too, is Walmart. We go out to Walmart and we walk around Walmart and shop. And sometimes it's just to see what's out there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, you know, it doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be where the two of you can connect and talk and really feel like you've got something there.
Yeah.
Remind yourself.
It's realizing it's the whole idea of, you know, done is better than perfect. That whole, you know, idea. There's a wasp flying around in my office.
Strive for imperfection.
There's a wasp right there. So if I freak out and duck, that's why. You know, it's, yeah, would I love to be able to, you know, once a month or twice a month, you know, go away for a weekend with my wife? Absolutely. And we do try to do that when we can. But if I held out for that being a date, or, you know, being able to go to a restaurant or whatever, it would never happen. And so to me, you know, it's just, hey, this is better than nothing. And it's a lot better than nothing. You know, it's spending time together. It's interacting with each other. It's, you know, talking about those things that we don't get a chance to talk to with the kids around. Because there's a lot of things that, you know, there's a lot of things we involve our kids in. There's some things that we just need to talk about without our kids around. Whether it's, you know, complaining about some of the friends they have and how we wish they didn't have them as friends, or, you know, those types of things. My daughter's 11. She just turned 11, and she's the sweetest girl ever. But anything we say will get repeated to somebody else. It will. So there's a lot of things we have to talk about when she's not around, and that's okay. We've just accepted that.
I'm so glad to hear other parents talk about that. Mm-hmm. I have a 13-year-old too, and she's just started her I know more than you do.
Yep, my daughter's there too. Mm-hmm.
So now that we're talking about family, how does your choice of work or job, how has that affected your family life and your income?
Family life, I think I was actually thinking about this yesterday. My wife, like I said, has just started working days, and we're still trying to we're in this weird area. My mom usually watches the kids when I'm working. When she's not working, she works through the summer because she works with a horse trainer. So until she's off for the winter, I have the kid. I have my son. My youngest is 2, and so the other 2 are in school, but he's home. And I was taking care of him the other day and working at the same time, and I just had this thought. I'm like, how I looked at him and I'm like, I said to him, I mean, he's 2. We didn't have a conversation about it, but I said, man, how cool is it that you will never know a dad that's not around? Because my daughter, when she was young, up until she was 3 or 4, I was working 80 hours a week, and I was gone 3 nights a week. When I did come home, a lot of times it was, she was in bed already, and I was gone before she woke up. So, I mean, there was days where I wouldn't see her for 2 or 3 days at a time.
Oh yeah.
And, just thinking about how cool it is that my youngest will never experience that. He has no concept of a dad that goes to an office and he doesn't see him all day because I'm always here, and just how cool that is, how neat it is to have more interaction with him. And I noticed it because the other 2 never did this, but when he wakes up in the morning, before we get him out of his crib, which I'm still blown away, he's still in a crib and hasn't crawled out yet. He's the one I expected to crawl out of a crib at like a year old, and he never has. He climbs on everything. He's everywhere, but in his crib, he never gets out. Anyway, so he lays in his crib, and you can hear him on the monitor, and he's always calling for me, because a lot of times my wife's away at the gym when he wakes up, and so I'm the one that gets him up, or she's off at work already, depending on the day. And just how cool that is. It's like, man, none of my other kids did that. Not that they don't like me or don't love me, but it wasn't a normal thing for me to be here when they woke up, when they were that age, and to be there all day. And so just, to me, that's really neat, and all of my kids, I mean, none of them, I mean, I'm here when they get home from school. My dad was a great dad. I had great parents, but my dad was a farmer. I mean, he was not there when I got home from school. He made a point to come to my soccer games on Saturdays, even though that meant sometimes that he was working after that and I didn't see him after that. But it's just different. It's neat, I think, for my kids to have that. And to have it from both parents. I mean, I had it from my mom growing up, and my mom was always around. She didn't work. She took care of us, and that was it, which is enough of a job, I'm sure. But my dad wasn't. Like I said, he was a great dad, but just how cool that is for my kids, just to have that experience of dad's around. Dad comes to our things at school. Dad is able to coach our soccer teams. I mean, this time of year, I'm coaching soccer 5 to 6 days a week, which means I'm off work every day by 4:00 because I have to go to soccer practice at 5. And, that's for family life. I think that's been the biggest thing, is just being there. And that's huge. And I think it's going to make a big difference as my kids get older, just having that relationship with them. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. And, a lot of times during the summer, I'm working all day. So it's not like I see them all day just because I'm here, but how cool it is that they can come over to my office and they come in and talk to me for a few minutes, or show me a picture they drew, or my daughter will come in and ask me a question, and they just have that opportunity, which I really like. Now you asked finances wise too. My grandpa, when I said I was quitting my job and working from home, thought I'd lost my mind, and he thought I was ruining my family. But when I looked at it, I mean, for me, with the opportunities I had, it greatly increased my income. I increased my income probably 30 to 40%. and it was a lot different. It was, I had to find my own insurance, and I don't have the benefits, which my grandpa was so worried about, which was weird because he was a farmer, which meant he had no benefits ever. My dad doesn't have any benefits except for the ones he buys himself. So, it was different, getting paid once a month, getting a retainer once a month rather than getting paid every 2 weeks. That was a difference. One of the cool things is it forced us to start living on a budget, because I knew, before, when I got paid every 2 weeks, it's like, okay, well, if I screw up something, we just got to suck it up for like 3 or 4 days and I'll get paid again. Now it's like, if I screw up something, we're screwed for like 20 days. So we have to have a budget. So that really helped us. And we're not the best at living on a budget yet, but we're a lot better than we were. So I think it's certainly improved our finances. Sometimes my wife says, hey, we're not making any more than you were before. And then I have to point out, well, you do have to realize that a lot of our bills, because I work from home, are paid from my business. Like, she just looks at the money that goes into our account and says, well, that's the same as before. We're not doing any better. And it's like, yeah, but I pay for this through the business and this through the business and this through the business, and you never see it. Like, it's paid before it comes into our personal account. So, it's just realizing that things are different. It's a different mindset. It's realizing that a lot of things are business expenses, and I can write off a lot of things, and we pay taxes differently. It's been a getting used to pay the quarterly tax estimates, rather than just waiting till the end of the year or having it taken out of my paycheck. I still kind of gasp every time I have to write that check every quarter. I'm like, oh, geez, a lot of money I'm sending to the government, but it is what it is. So finances are definitely better. I would say more different even than better, just because of the nature of working from home and owning your own business.
That is interesting. I have not yet put gotten an actual license for working as a business or anything. A lot of toying around with a lot of different stuff, but haven't actually done it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that is something I've heard from other people, that because you're working from home, you can write off certain areas,
A lot of stuff.
certain parts of your taxes, and
Mm-hmm.
like all kinds of different things.
Yeah. It's really cool. I mean, it's something definitely I recommend to everybody. And this is what Matt told me when I started working with him. Go find an accountant, and find an accountant that works with people that own their own businesses and own businesses where their home is part of it. And I got lucky because my parents have a really, really good accountant for their farm. And at first I'm like, well, that doesn't seem, I mean, having a home-based business is different than a farm, but it's really not. I mean, my parents write off everything. I mean, their house is their office. Their vehicles are what they use for the farm. They write off, I think, literally everything. Probably not quite everything, but pretty darn close. So this accountant's been really good, because I went in and I said, hey, I don't know what I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to write off something I can't. And he basically said, and this isn't accounting advice, so don't take it as that. Anybody that listens to this, go talk to your own accountant. But he told me, he's like, I want to see anything that could legitimately be considered part of your business, or that you might use for business. And so there's a lot of things that I write off. I mean, when for what I do, because I do marketing, I do online marketing, it's really cool. I write out when I get like a book, like a free book deal or something, I write it off. One, because I'm learning from that book. Two, because I'm looking at their funnel. I'm looking at how they market it. I'm looking at how they sell it. And, if the IRS ever came and said, hey, you bought this program or whatever for $300 and you wrote it off, it's like, well, one, it's business development. Two, look here in this Google Drive folder, I have screenshots of every single page in their funnel. And that's what I do. Every time I buy something, I screenshot their funnel. I screenshot every single page, because then I use them. I mean, I'm not just saying I take them and I leave them there and I never use them. The next time I want to create a page like that, I go back and look at those and I say, oh, they did that. And now it's a business expense. I mean, the IRS could not argue with me. I mean, it's airtight. That was a business expense. Even if it's a book, and I do it all the time. I get a book and Lacey's like, really, another book? And I go, it's a business expense. Really? How is that a business expense? I looked at their funnel. I mean, I bought a soccer program for my daughter, a training program. It was like $37. Business expense. Is my business about soccer? No, but I love what they did on their sales page, and I screenshotted it, and I have went back and looked at it. So yeah, there's a lot of things like that you can legitimately write off, portions of your mortgage, portions of your utility bill, my phone bill. My entire phone bill is business, because my wife and I, like I said, we don't talk a ton about business, but I mean, honestly, if you were in a business and you text your business partner and said, hey, this is what payroll is going to be this month, that's business. So when I text my wife and say, hey, I'm depositing this check from our business account to our personal account for this month, well, I'm just talking about payroll, business expense. So my phone is, because I talk on the phone all the time, but so is hers, because we talk about that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. That's neat.
Yeah, that's true. So that brings us to the next question, which is, okay, I lost my place. So it kind of like leads into the question of, how does you're working from home, the pros and cons of it, like, for you, how does that is the pros and cons?
I think it's a lot of the things we just talked about. I mean, it's sometimes, and my wife and I have had these conversations where sometimes I'm like, maybe it would be easier if I had an office in town somewhere, because then, she wouldn't get frustrated when, she comes home and the dishes aren't done. I'm like, well, I was working all day. Sorry, I had a lot I had to get done. And, there's days where I don't take lunch. I like make my food, bring it to my office, and I keep eating while I'm working, which you shouldn't do. That's actually really bad. You should take that time to relax. But I do it sometimes. And so she'll get annoyed, when I haven't done anything around the house. So sometimes I'm like, well, maybe it would be easier, get a place at the, in town. But at the same time, it's really nice. It's really nice when she says, hey, I want to go have lunch with my friend. Is it okay if I leave Karsten with you for a couple hours? Yeah, that's fine. Like, I can adjust my day to where I can do things that I can do with a 2-year-old running around. And when he takes a nap, I can do the things that I can't do when he's running around. I will admit that there have been times I've lost my son. Not really, but he's supposed to be in the living room watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and all of a sudden he's not. And I'm like, where the heck did he go? And I look in his room and I can't find him. Well, he's upstairs in his brother or sister's room, tearing apart their room because they didn't close their doors, and I told them they should. So, I mean, I have lost my son. But, I think for me, the biggest pro is just the freedom. I learned a long time ago in other jobs that there's a big difference between doing something you don't want to do because your boss told you to do it, and doing something you don't want to do because you know that you need to do it and you choose to do it. And, I'm at a point now where most of what I do is because I choose to do it. I mean, there's still things that Matt says, hey, this needs to be done. But there's a lot more freedom, and there's a lot more ability to make a decision for myself. Hey, this is more important than this, or this is more important than this, or you know what, spending the time to go, see my wife and have lunch with her is more important. And I choose to do that, knowing full well that means I might be working at 8:00 tonight. That's okay. So I would say that's the biggest pro. The biggest con, probably a little bit of the same, just getting used to that and managing that well. Also, maybe, it's easy to get that's the best way to put this. I don't have a lot of outside interaction with people, except for like people in Slack when I'm working at work. And because of that, my wife has made this comment. She's like, you're very introvert, you don't have any friends. Like, well, I do. They just all live other places and I talk to them online. But she notices it and she says, hey, you don't have anybody you just go hang out with. Now we have that couple now, and so that's a little bit better. And Ryan and I do some things together. He actually owns the gym I go to, so I see him every morning. But that's probably one of the downsides, is just there's really no outside interaction. And because of that, I've learned, trying to think of a nice way to say this, my tolerance for stupid people has gone down. Like, I have very low tolerance because I'm not around people that, I mean, you've seen Matt, you see the people that I work with, they're very focused on their goals. And, people that are focused on their goals typically aren't very negative, and they don't complain about trivial things, and they're not worried about the latest thing Donald Trump said or whatever. And so when I go to school events or I'm somewhere and I'm around a lot of people like that, I just about lose my mind.
Oh yeah.
I hate going to school functions where I'm interacting with other adults because they just annoy me. And I just tell Lacey, I'm like, I can't deal with this. You've got to do these things. I can't do them. So maybe that's a con. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But yeah, my tolerance for stupid people is diminished. Stupid adults. That's what I'll say. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I can totally agree with you on that. I was a homeschooled person, so dealing with kids in that normal kid mentality,
Yeah.
I could never function in that society, or with other kids. I was like,
I want to talk to an adult.
yeah, I did. So, okay, now we need to cover what it is you actually do as a bit to run a business and how that affects you and your family.
Okay. Do you want the real answer or the snarky one that I give people when they don't know what I do?
Both. How's that?
So
Because it's fun.
usually when people ask me around here, it's getting more and more common, but I live in a small town. I'm sure you can relate where if you say you work from home, they just kind of look at you like, you what? Like, how does
Yeah.
that work? So my snarky comment that I usually make is I sell drugs to kids. Uh, because I just realized I'm like, people understand that. They may not agree with it, but they're like, okay, I can intellectually understand what you do. All right, got it. And then I just smile and say, no, that's not really what I do. So, for me, I own my own business. I'm an independent contractor for Matt. He's my client. And so what I do for him is a lot of email marketing, building landing pages, sales pages, writing emails, interacting with students. That's why you and I have interacted a lot. One of my main functions is interacting with students, in Facebook groups and answering questions and giving feedback and those types of things. So that's a majority of what I do now. I'm cycling a little more into doing more coaching. That's something that I've always really liked doing. I do it in all aspects of my life. I've just never done it because somebody paid me to do it. So I run one of our Start Mastermind groups. I'm doing more and more coaching for Matt for people that want to do coaching with him and his team. And then I'm building up more and more clients on my own that I'm doing coaching with. I actually just got a new client this last week that I'll be helping her in her business increase their recurring revenue, and
So do
giving
you
back.
have a license for coaching, or is this
No,
just something you do
yeah,
and you've built a reputation as being able to do this?
yep, yep. No license. I mean, I guess I could. Actually, I did just buy a coaching program, and I think there's a certification that comes with it. But that's not why I bought it. I just bought it to sharpen my skills. So I'm learning that more and more certifications and licenses are becoming less exciting to people. Doesn't
Mhm.
I mean, really, when it comes down to it, people just want to know that you can get the results. And if you can do that and you can prove that you can do that, then that's all they care about. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the reason why the online world has become much more popular to people, is that they don't want somebody who um, will preach at them. They want to see results.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on something that's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to, and they don't have a whole lot of time anymore. Like, we don't spend a lot of time just doing random
Yeah.
nebulous stuff. So we want to pack as much into our days as we can. So I
Yeah.
think that's the reason why these online courses and things like that have really taken off.
Yeah.
We're running out of time. Exciting. I actually did not get through all my I had a whole list of questions I wanted to ask you, and I'm not even going to get halfway through them.
My wife would say that's because I talk a lot.
You talk very well.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's a compliment.
Thank you.
So, let's see. a fun question. Let's see. We talked about dating,
Mhm.
but so next big fun question is like the funnest. I suppose the best question I could ask you, and to finish our thing, is what is the most impactful thing you have done with your business that that gives you more energy to continue doing what you're doing?
The most impactful thing. I think for me, the things that give me the energy and get me excited are what I was just telling you about. I think it's talking about ideas, but I think it's more than that. Helping people to have breakthroughs in their businesses specifically, but really anywhere. That's one of the things I've realized that, as I've sat down and asked myself in the last year or so, what am I uniquely good at? What is the thing that I'm better than 95% of people at? And I really think it is coaching, and it's not necessarily like a quote unquote business coach specific thing, but that's what I do in every aspect of my life. That's why I like coaching soccer, because I love watching, the girls on my team, watching how they play and giving them a couple ideas and seeing them get it. Just seeing
Mhm.
that realization or seeing it click, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what it's supposed to look like. You did it. And I do the same thing, business wise. I have a couple friends that we chat often, in an unofficial sense because we're friends, and I give them ideas. And one example is my friend John. He and I were talking one day, and he's like, yeah, I'm promoting my monthly newsletter. It costs this much. And he's like, I just don't have as many sales as I thought I should, and it closes tomorrow. And I said, okay, here's what you do. And I gave him an email. I said, here, you say this, 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 and this. You send it at this time. Here's the subject line. And getting the text from him the next day after he sent it and said, dude, I sent that email and I got 4 sales in the next 20 minutes
Wow.
was the most exciting thing for me. It's being able to take these ideas and apply them, or give them to someone else to apply and have them get results, and to see that. We talked a lot about, not a lot, we talked about personality types. My personality types is I'm really bad at day-to-day stuff. I'm really bad at details. I'm really bad at follow through. Usually when I tell my wife about my personality type results, she rolls her eyes and she's like, you're just using that as an excuse. When I read that, she started laughing. She's like, yep, that's you. You are terrible at follow through. And I've realized that rather than looking at that as a detriment, it's really a benefit. I mean, it's my skill set. My skill set is really, it's coaching, it's consulting, it's coming in, looking at somebody's business and saying, what if you did this? Or here's a couple ideas, try this. And then I walk away and they implement it. They do the day-to-day things because I'm
They
not,
do the work.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
good at it. And it's taken me a long time to get to be okay with that, because society would tell you that that means that I'm really bad at follow through and that I can't be successful if I'm not good at those things. And I'm just now realizing that that's, like you said, that's what gives me energy. Doing day-to-day things, sitting down and creating a landing page or a sales page. I can do it. I'm pretty good at it, but it doesn't give me energy. It wears me out because I'm not a detail person. People think I am. I'm pretty good at playing one. I could play a detail person on TV, I guess, but it's not me. And so for me, the things that give me energy, that really impact my business, are when I'm able to look at big picture and come up with ideas and lay those ideas out for somebody, and then to see them succeed, to see them put it into action and say, oh, that works so well. This is the results. That's what gives me energy. That's what's
Yeah.
impactful for me.
Well, I would have to say that you have been an excellent coach, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right this very second.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So I wanted to say thank you so much for giving me approximately an hour of your time and spending time talking to me about your family and your business, and you know just just talking with me. and giving me pointers and all the other stuff that you have done in the last year that I've known you.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. And we will talk soon.
Okay. Sounds good.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.